When no man in Arizona could solve it, they came to Logan. The sun had barely crested the mesa when word reached Logan's ranch. Another challenge no man could meet, a stallion wild as thunder, and a widow who'd seen too much loss to hope easy. Across Dry Creek Valley, her voice carried like a storm. $50 to any man who could ride him. 25 had tried. 25 had failed. Now folks whispered the name Clara Sterling, though she used to be Catherine, back when joy still lived in her eyes. Time and grief change a woman's name. Her horse? Tempest, 17 hands of black fury with coal glint eyes and no master. The kind of beast that don't just buck riders. He breaks 'em. Not to the 25 men who tried, not to the silver-tongued breakers who rode in from Kansas City, El Paso, Santa Fe, swinging ropes and pride like sabers. But Clara wasn't looking for a man to break him. She was looking for the kind of cowboy her husband used to be, the kind who understood that earning a horse's trust ain't the same as conquering its will. The kind of man who knows some things in this world ain't meant to be tamed, only understood. So she made her proclamation in the general store on a Tuesday morning, and the whole valley felt it. "If you're a real cowboy," she said, "ride 'em. 10 minutes. Stay in the saddle. I'll pay you $50, in gold. But if you fall," she added, "don't come back to my ranch pretending you're something you're not." $50, more than most men made in half a year. Enough for a small spread, a few cows, a clean start. Enough to make men do foolish things. They came in waves. First the local boys, ones who'd ridden plow horses and Sunday mules, thinking that was enough. Then the drifters, whiskey-lipped men with stories too big to be true. Then the pros, rodeo champs, ranch hands, whisperers with Spanish names and scarred saddles. Every one of them thought they had the answer. Some brought whips, some brought sugar, some brought contraptions that looked like they belonged in a war, not a corral. But Tempest had his own religion. The first man lasted 8 seconds. The stallion reared, then spun. Like thunder with legs, sent the man cartwheeling into the dust. The next made it to 15 before Tempest launched him into the water trough like he owed him money. By the end of the week, the doctor had treated more ribs and pride than cattle, and still they kept coming. Clara Sterling watched from her porch with arms folded, a shotgun propped like a hymn book. Some called her cruel, others called her cursed, but she knew what they didn't. Her husband, before the fever took him, had ridden that stallion once. Just once. The day before he died, with sweat on his brow and lungs full of fire, he stepped into the corral, and Tempest let him climb aboard. They moved like 2 verses of the same psalm. 10 minutes of motion so perfect it made the old ranch hands cry. "That horse knows things, Clara," her husband had whispered. "He's waiting on a man who don't want to own him. Just ride beside him." Now, 3 winters later, she was still waiting, and that's when he came. Not the right man, just a desperate one. Name was Elias Kessler, 35, worn out and broke from cattle drives that paid in promises. He came for the gold, but what he needed was food for his daughter, little Annie, 6 years old, barefoot, big eyes that didn't blink much. They'd come from 3 towns over, sharing a horse with ribs you could count through its hide. Elias begged Clara at the gate, "Please, let me try." Clara looked him over, looked at Annie, looked at the sky like it might give her permission. "You want the $50? The woman asked. Her voice was calm, too calm. "Then ride him." Elias stood at the fence line, boots heavy with nerves. His hands shook. Tempest, the stallion, pawed at the dirt, huge, black, half mad from what men had tried to do to him. No one had lasted more than 8 seconds on that back, but Elias didn't have a choice. "I just need the money," he muttered. "No," she said coldly. "You need to be a cowboy." Clara wore a long black coat, dusty from the trail. Her eyes never flinched. She had the look of someone who'd buried more than one man and didn't bother with grief. Behind Elias stood a little girl, Annie, no more than 6, holding a cracked cloth doll. Elias tried to mount. He didn't last 3 seconds. Tempest bucked once, and Elias flew like dead weight, slammed hard into the ground, head first. Dust flew. Men gasped. When he came to, Clara was already standing over him. She didn't shout. She didn't gloat. She just said the thing that would haunt him the rest of his life. "You ain't no cowboy. But your girl's sweet, strong. I'll keep her here." Elias blinked through blood. "What? She'll be safe," Clara said. "Fed. She can sleep in the house. You come back when you find me the man who can ride, Tempest. Then she goes home with you." She didn't wait for his answer. She just picked up the girl and walked toward the house. Many came, riders from the north, wranglers from the territories, men with spurs, men with scars. None stayed on that stallion. Tempest broke them all. 3 years later, no letters, no word, not a single update. Elias had searched half the state. He worked mines, ranches, railroads, always asking. No one could ride the Black Devil. Until a man in a saloon leaned in and said, "There's one cowboy I heard of. Doesn't talk much, lives up high, out past Widow's Canyon. They say he don't take jobs no more, but if anyone can ride that horse, it's him." High Canyon, sunset. A small shack, smoke from a cook fire. Elias stood there now. A worn photograph trembled in his hand. Annie, 6 years old, frozen in time. His other hand? Empty. Just air and desperation. In front of him, crouched over an old kettle, a man stirred coffee like he hadn't moved in hours. Square jaw, trimmed beard, weather-worn face, calm as stone. "You, Logan?" The man looked up, slow and steady. Didn't answer right away. Didn't need to. The silence held for a breath too long. Then Logan spoke, voice like gravel under boot heel. "Logan, you bring trouble or coffee?" Elias, stiff smile. "I brought something worse." He held out the photograph, shaking. "Elias, she's 9 now. I ain't seen her in 3 years." Logan stared at the photo, didn't touch it, didn't blink, just looked at the girl frozen in time, hair tied with a bit of twine, eyes too big for her face. "Elias." "Her name's Annie. You ever heard of a ranch called Sterling, back in Dry Creek Valley?" Logan, slow nod. "I've heard of it." "Elias." "They still got the horse, the black one, mean as hell. No one's ridden him, not once, not in all these years." Logan looked away, not like he was thinking, like he already knew. "Logan." "You left your daughter to chase a horse." "Elias." "I left her because I thought if I came back with that stallion broke between my knees, maybe I'd be somebody. Somebody she could point to and say, 'That's my pa.'" Logan stood, taller than Elias remembered men being. He walked to the edge of the bluff, steam rising from the coffee still in his hand. The valley below burned gold in the last light. "Elias." "I've been in 50 towns, asked 200 men, and they all say the same thing. If anyone can ride that black bastard, it's the man in the High Canyon." "Logan." "And if he says no," "Elias." "Then I walk down this hill and find a gun, 'cause I'm out of time." Logan turned. His eyes didn't soften. But something else changed, a flicker, like a match just before it catches. He looked at the photo again, then nodded once, a promise. Logan. Pack light. 3 days later. 2 riders on a ridgeline, Logan and Elias, silhouetted by falling sun. Below them, Sterling Ranch, dozens gathered by the main corral. Cowboys, gamblers, drifters, townsfolk, even a preacher. All eyes fixed on Tempest, the black stallion, caged in raw fury. He kicks dust like cannon smoke, snorts like a war drum, coat glistening like spilled oil. Elias, nervous. Same crowd every year. They line up to watch a man fail. Logan. Maybe they're not here for the rider. Maybe they're here for the horse. Logan swings down, smooth, controlled. No flourish, no flare, just quiet readiness. He opens his saddlebag, pulls out a coiled rope, a worn leather glove, and a small wooden carving of a horse. Elias. That for luck? Logan. That's for her. He nods to a second-story window in the ranch house. Behind it, a small face, Annie, watching, frozen. The crowd hadn't seen Logan yet. Then he walked forward, slow, measured, his boots hitting dirt like a countdown to judgment. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Cowboy number 1. That him? Cowboy number 2. If it ain't, someone's about to die trying. By the time Logan reaches the gate, the only sound left is wind and breathing. Inside the corral, Tempest turns. They lock eyes, man and beast, like 2 storms about to collide. Logan doesn't flinch, doesn't posture. He steps inside the corral. No rope, no saddle, no whip, just presence. The crowd leans in. Even Elias forgets to breathe. Logan kneels, places the wooden horse gently in the dirt, then stands again. Tempest watches, suspicious, but not angry, not yet. Logan. Low, steady. I ain't here to break you, I'm just here to see if you'll walk. Tempest paws the dirt, snorts. Tension builds. Every man readies to jump the fence. Logan removes his hat, steps 1 pace closer. Tempest bolts, charges right for him. Elias gasps. A woman screams, but Logan doesn't move, not an inch. The stallion stops, dead still, chest heaving, dust swirling. They're nose to nose, and Logan whispers something. Nobody hears it, but Tempest lowers his head, just an inch. Enough. Logan reaches up, slowly, and touches the wild stallion's cheek, and for the first time in 3 years, Tempest doesn't pull away. The corral explodes with disbelief. Elias, softly, "You son of a gun." From the ranch house window, Annie smiles. The light had gone long and golden, stretching shadows like memories across the dirt. Logan stood beside the fence rail, hat low, eyes steady. He didn't speak, didn't climb, didn't move fast, just watched. Tempest stood at the far end of the corral like he owned the land and had no interest in sharing it. Muscles like coiled cables shifted under a coat as black as wet coal. His ears turned like dials, searching, warning. He'd already thrown 6 men that week. 1 broke a collarbone, 2 left swearing vengeance. All limped off carrying less pride than they came in with. But Logan wasn't them, and Tempest seemed to know it. The stallion's hooves thudded slow and deliberate as he came forward, not charging, just circling, like a storm reading the wind. Tempest's front hoof scuffed the earth once. A low huff escaped him, like a man testing if he still believed in second chances. From the porch, Clara Sterling watched with her arms crossed, framed by the last of the sunset. Her red hair burned gold in the light, her eyes unreadable. She'd seen men lie before, but Logan wasn't lying. Tempest stepped closer, 5 feet now. Logan's boots stayed planted. "You've had enough fools crawl up your back thinking grit can buy trust," Logan said, eyes steady on the horse. "But trust don't come in minutes. It don't come in bridles either." The horse twitched his ears forward, then back, then forward again. A silent test passed. Time stretched thin like a wire about to snap. And still, Logan didn't move. Didn't need to, because in the language only creatures of burden understand, he was already speaking. Clara came down from the porch. The sound of her boots on the steps didn't startle either of them. "Most men," she said, voice even, "just climb that fence and make demands." Logan glanced sideways, slow and respectful. "And most of 'em wind up in the dirt." "You didn't," she said. "No. Why?" Logan looked back at Tempest, who now stood just on the other side of the rail, close enough to touch, but he didn't. "Because I ain't here to tame him," Logan said. "I'm here to see if he'll allow me." That line made Clara pause. She stepped to Logan's side, close enough to smell leather and trail dust and something else, something quieter, like regret that never got buried right. "What's your name?" she asked. "Logan." "Just Logan?" He nodded once. "You ever been married, Logan?" He was quiet for a beat too long. "Once," he said. "Long time ago." "She leave?" "No, ma'am. She got taken." Clara blinked, but didn't ask more. "My husband could ride that horse," she said finally. "Only man who ever did." Logan nodded, slow. "He understands something most don't?" he asked. "He knew that wild ain't the same as broken," she replied. "He knew some souls ain't meant to be mastered, just walked beside." She looked at Logan with something more than curiosity now. "Stay on him for 10 minutes and the money's yours," she said. "But if you get thrown, you don't come back. That's the rule." Logan stared at Tempest, then back at Clara. "Understood." She stepped back. Her eyes didn't soften. "Don't do this unless you're sure, Logan. Once you step in that ring, it don't just test the horse, it tests you." Logan looked at Tempest one more time. The stallion stood calm now, as if granting permission. "Ma'am," he said, gripping the fence rail, "I've walked through too many storms not to know the weight of peace when it stands right in front of me." And with that, he climbed the fence, slow, deliberate. And Tempest didn't move. The corral didn't feel like a cage anymore. It felt like a reckoning. Clara spoke softly behind him, voice low like a prayer. "Clara, my husband used to talk to him just like that. Said horses could hear the truth in a man's voice, even when the man himself had forgotten what truth sounded like." Logan didn't look back. He just stayed there, one hand on the rail, eyes steady on the black stallion that stood in the fading light. "Logan, what did your husband do?" "Clara, he broke horses, best in 3 counties, but he never really broke anything, if you understand me. He had a way of showing horses what they could become, not forcing them to be something they weren't." Her voice trembled with a kind of memory that had weight. Not grief exactly, more like the echo of something important lost. Clara continued, "He used to say the best horses, they choose their riders, same way we choose who to trust." Logan didn't move. He just breathed in slow, his boots planted firm in the dust. Tempest had edged closer now, cautious but curious. There were scars along his neck and shoulder, reminders of hands that reached without respect. There was something in the horse's eyes, too, not just fear, something deeper, like recognition, or maybe just a tired sort of hope. Logan, quiet, he's been waiting. Clara, 3 years. 3 years of men thinking they could conquer him with ropes or bridles or hard hands. 3 years of him teaching them the difference between domination and trust. Logan finally moved, slow, deliberate. He didn't reach for Tempest, just turned his hand palm up on the fence rail like an offering. Tempest didn't shy away. He stepped forward. One step, then another, close enough to send warm breath rolling across Logan's fingers. He didn't touch. Not yet. Just stood there, the air between them buzzing with unspoken questions. "Clara, you ready for this?" Logan looked at her, over his shoulder, just enough to catch her face in that last shaft of orange sun. There was something in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Not faith exactly, but maybe the beginnings of it. "Logan, ma'am, I've been waiting my whole life for something like this. I just didn't know what it was till now." He climbed the fence, smooth and steady. No rush, no sound. Inside the corral, the world changed. The silence got heavier. The distance between heartbeats stretched thin. Tempest circled him slowly, not retreating, just watching. Logan let him. "Logan, low. You know what they say about you, that you're unrideable, that you got the devil in your blood, too wild for any man to handle." The stallion snorted, ears twitching forward, a sound not of fear.
"But I don't think that's true. I think you're just tired. Tired of men grabbing at you like you're a prize, not a partner. Tired of being treated like something broken just 'cause you never bowed your head." Tempest slowed, ears locked forward. The distance between them narrowed inch by inch. "I ain't here to break you. I ain't here to own you. Hell, I ain't even here to tame you." He stopped moving and let the stallion keep circling. "I'm here because I think maybe we're both carrying something heavy, and maybe we can help each other figure out how to set it down." The stallion stopped, 15 feet out, still, listening. The wind picked up, soft and warm, and the smell of sage rolled in from the hills. "My husband said once," she took a breath, "he said the best horses, they were never wild, they were just waiting for someone who spoke their language." Logan nodded, never breaking eye contact with Tempest. The horse stood like a statue, powerful, watchful, waiting. "You want the truth?" His voice was almost a whisper now, but it carried. "I'm scared, not of you, of what happens if this don't work. 'Cause I've been empty so long I forgot what it felt like to want something real." He took a single step forward. Tempest didn't move. "But you're real. You're more real than anything I've known in years." Another step. The stallion flicked an ear but stayed grounded, breath calm, body still. "I ain't gonna push you. I ain't gonna grab hold of something that don't want to be held." He raised his hand again, slow, respectful, steady. Tempest moved forward, not fast, just sure, until he stood close enough that Logan could see himself reflected in the horse's eyes. Then, with the care of a man touching fire, Logan laid his palm against the stallion's neck. Tempest didn't flinch. He leaned into the touch, just enough to say, "I'm listening," just enough to say, "Maybe." From the fence, no one spoke, not Clara, not the ranch hands, not the world itself. Because in that corral stood something sacred, not victory, not mastery, but understanding. Clara didn't speak, didn't move. She stood at the rail like she was afraid to breathe, hands gripped wide around the top board, eyes locked on the stallion. Logan swung down from Tempest's back, slow and steady, boots hitting the dirt like thunder in a church. His legs weren't shaking, but inside him something was. That old tightness in his chest, that thing he never spoke of, was looser now. Not gone, but different. Tempest turned his head, big eyes tracking Logan as he stepped back. There was a softness in the stallion's gaze now, like a fuse that had finally burned out without ever exploding. 15 minutes. Clara let out a breath she hadn't known she was holding. "You weren't thrown," she said quietly. Logan didn't answer, just ran a slow hand down Tempest's neck. The stallion leaned into it. Not much, just enough to say something passed between them. "You could have kept going," Clara added, stepping down from the rail. Her boots hit the dirt soft. "He wanted you to." Logan glanced over his shoulder at her.
the sun casting long shadows across his jaw. "Wasn't about time," he said. Clara nodded once. "No, it wasn't." She stepped closer, eyes on the stallion. "He didn't let anyone touch him, you know," she said. "Not since my brother." Her voice had lost its usual edge like wind after a storm. "They tried everything, bribes, ropes, pain, but not once did he ever let anyone ride him." Logan didn't interrupt, just listened. "He was like that after the war, too," she continued, looking at Tempest like he was a memory come alive. "Didn't talk for a year, slept in the barn. Only place he felt right was beside that horse." Clara's hand reached up slow and gentle, resting against Tempest's flank. The stallion didn't move, didn't flinch. "I thought we'd lost both of them." Logan looked away, out toward the far hills. "Sometimes," he said, "the ones that look gone, they're just waiting for someone who'll listen." Clara turned to him then, really turned. Her voice barely above a whisper. "You think that's still true?" Logan didn't rush the answer. He just met her eyes and said it plain. "I do." She nodded, swallowed hard, and said nothing more. For a long while the three of them stood there, man, woman, and horse, in that quiet Arizona corral, where something broken had mended just enough to stand again. Logan didn't look at her. Not yet. He kept his palm against Tempest's neck, feeling the warmth there, the pulse beneath skin. "He gave it," Logan said. His voice was low, not tired, just reverent. "That's enough for now." Clara stepped closer, careful not to spook the moment. She didn't wear her usual sharpness, no fire in her tone, no edge, just a softness that surprised even her. "You ever had that before?" she asked. "A horse like this?" Logan shook his head. "Not like this, not one that waited for me." Tempest flicked an ear, still watching, still listening. Clara moved to stand beside Logan, close but not touching. Her gaze shifted from the stallion to the man, reading him like she used to read storm clouds coming over the mesa. "What changed?" she asked. Logan finally turned, met her eyes. "Maybe nothing," he said. "Maybe I just stopped fighting it." Clara looked away for a moment, jaw tight. The corral had fallen silent again, save for the soft creak of leather and the low breath of wind stirring dust around their boots. "I thought he'd kill you," she admitted, "when you first stepped in." Logan gave a small nod. "Yeah, me too." That made her smile, just barely. "But you didn't even flinch." Logan let out a breath. "Ain't about flinching, it's about meaning it. Every step I took in there, I meant it." He looked back at Tempest. "And he did too." There was something tender in the way Clara watched Logan now, not soft like pity, no, she'd never give that, but respectful, maybe even protective. "You're different than I remembered," she said. Logan didn't smile, but the corner of his mouth twitched like he wanted to. "Been through a few fires since you last saw me." Clara studied him, long and quiet. "You still burnin'?" He shrugged, then stepped back from the stallion. "Ain't figured that out yet." Tempest followed a step, then stopped, watching him. Clara glanced between them. "He'd go with you, you know that, right?" Logan gave a small nod. "Yeah, but I ain't taken him yet." "Why?" "'Cause today wasn't about owning nothing. It was about listening. If he decides to come to me tomorrow, that'll be his choice." Clara tilted her head. "That's not how most men think." Logan looked her in the eye. "Then most men don't deserve a horse like this." That landed heavy, truth spoken plain. Clara folded her arms, but it wasn't defensive, it was thoughtful. "You still leaving in the morning?" she asked. Logan paused, looked past her toward the horizon where the light was turning gold. "I was." "And now?" He didn't answer. Not yet. He just looked at Tempest again, then at Clara. "Ask me after sundown," he said. "Sometimes things change between now and dark." And with that he walked past her, slow, steady, toward the edge of the corral. Clara stood there watching, not calling after him, not needing to. Tempest stayed behind, but his eyes never left Logan's back. The last of the dust was settling now. Tempest stood quiet at the edge of the corral, the big stallion's head turned toward Logan like he was still listening. The gathered hands had begun to drift back to the bunkhouse, talking low, their eyes casting one more glance toward the man who'd done what they all thought couldn't be done. Clara stepped forward, the heavy $50 coin still in her hand, gleaming like a promise in the lowering light. "You earned this," she said, voice steady but soft. "You wrote him. No one else could." Logan didn't reach for it. He looked at the coin, then he looked past it, to the rail, where Elias stood with his arms around his daughter, Annie. She clung to him like she hadn't been held in years. Maybe she hadn't. "That man," Logan said, his voice gravel but calm. "He came here with nothing, not even hope, just a photo, and an ache too deep to speak of." Clara followed his eyes, understanding flickering in hers. "He risked more than I did," Logan added. "I just climbed on a horse. He nearly gave up his soul." Clara didn't answer right away, just lowered the coin slightly, unsure. Logan stepped forward, slow and sure, and took her hand, not the coin, just her hand, closed her fingers gently over the gold. "Give it to him," he said, to Elias, and to that little girl of his. Clara studied him. "You sure?" she asked. Logan nodded once. "Ain't always about what you win, sometimes it's about what you return." Behind them, Tempest let out a breath, long and low, like a man letting go of something he'd held too long. Clara looked toward Elias, then back to Logan. "I'll see to it," she said. As Logan turned to walk away, Clara called after him. "You didn't come here for money, did you?" Logan paused, his back to her. "No, ma'am," he said. "I came here to ride the horse." A moment passed. "But maybe," he added, "I was looking for something else too, just didn't know it." He kept walking, toward Tempest, toward the far pasture, toward something unnamed and wide open as the sky. Behind him, Clara stood still, the gold coin pressed against her palm, and something else stirring behind her ribs. Not admiration, not even gratitude, but respect, maybe more. They didn't talk about Tempest much after that day. Didn't need to. Clara had offered him to stay first, not out of politeness, but something deeper. A recognition that whatever had passed between him and the stallion was also happening between them. And Logan had stayed. Not because he was asked, but because something in him no longer wanted to leave. What followed wasn't dramatic. It was daily. They worked, they ate, they rested. But in those quiet days, Clara witnessed the gradual return of something that might have been joy, if it hadn't been buried so deep for so long. It was the moments between work that spoke loudest. Shared cups of coffee on the porch when the evening chores were done. Conversations that started about cattle and weather ended up touching on dreams, on losses, and the careful hope that maybe, just maybe, the future could be different from the past. Interior porch, dusk. The sky was painted in copper and gold, stretched wide over the hills. "You know," Clara said quietly, rocking slow in that old porch chair beside him, "I never thanked you proper." Logan looked over the rim of his cup, one brow raised. "For what?" "For proving me right." She smiled, soft, honest, without any mask. "For 3 years, I insisted Tempest wasn't unrideable, just misunderstood, waiting for the right man. Someone who could see past his reputation, to what he really was." She glanced toward the pasture, where Tempest stood, still and dark against the glowing sky. "Most folks thought I was fooling myself, holding on to something that couldn't be held. And now they see what I always knew was possible." She paused, her voice gentler now.
Sometimes the most worthwhile things in life are the ones you have to wait for. There was something in her tone, a weight behind the words. She wasn't just talking about horses. Logan's chest tightened, not from pain, but from knowing. "Clara," he said quietly, setting down his cup and turning to face her. She didn't flinch, didn't look away, just waited, patient, steady. "I came here thinking I was just a man looking to prove himself on a hard horse. But what I found..." He faltered, searched, tried to gather the right words. "What I found was a place where I could remember who I used to be. Before the war, before all the running, before I spent so many years trying to outrun ghosts." Clara reached across the space between them, took his hand in hers. Her touch was warm, steady, without hesitation. "You found yourself," she said simply, "same as Tempest did, when you showed him what partnership could look like, instead of control." Logan swallowed hard. "I found more than that." His voice broke just slightly, the old iron cracked open. "I found you." The silence between them was soft, safe, and when the stars began to blink into the sky above them, Tempest let out a single low whinny from the pasture, like a blessing. "Marry me," Logan said. The words came without thinking, from somewhere deeper. "I know it's sudden. I ain't got much to offer but a cowboy's wages, and a heart that's just now remembered how to hope." Clara didn't blink, didn't waver. She smiled, slow, sure. "I'll marry you,"